Rome had seen great emperors before, but none quite like Trajan. A man of iron discipline, unmatched ambition, and battlefield brilliance. The emperor who didn't just rule an empire, he expanded it to its absolute maximum. This is the story of the soldier emperor who transformed Rome into the greatest superpower the ancient world would ever witness. Trajan's journey begins not in Rome, but in Hispania. Born far from the Italian heartland, Trajan rose from the ranks of the legions a general before he was ever a ruler. He marched with soldiers, slept in the cold with them, bled wheat them. So when the time came for Nerva to choose an heir, he didn't choose a politician. He chose a warrior, and that single decision changed the destiny of the empire. When Trajan entered Rome as emperor, crowds flooded the streets. They weren't cheering out of fear, they were cheering out of love. Trajan was everything, Domitian was not. Strong, humble, generous, brutally, and completely committed to rebuilding the dignity of the empire. Rome needed a soldier. Rome needed a leader. Rome needed him. Trajan wasted no time. He restored the finances, repaired the city, strengthened the army, and brought justice back to the imperial court. But one ambition burned hotter than anything else: expansion. The Roman Empire had grown comfortable, and Trajan hated comfort. To the north, across the Danube, stood the kingdom of Dacia, rich in gold, and ruled by a fierce king. Previous emperors tried to tame them. None succeeded. Trajan would change that. The Dacian Wars became the defining conflict of his reign. Legions marched in perfect formation, bridging rivers, cutting roads through mountains, smashing fortresses that were once thought untouchable. Trajan himself led from the front, directing sieges, planning assaults, coordinating the engineering miracles that made Rome unstoppable. Then came the final blow, the fall of Sarmizegetus, the Dacian capital. Decebalus fled into the hills, and when capture became inevitable, he chose to die rather than be paraded through Rome. Dacia fell, and with it came unimaginable wealth, gold that transformed the Roman treasury and financed the greatest building project the empire had ever attempted. This was the age of Trajan's Forum, Trajan's markets, and towering above them all, Trajan's column, spiraling 200 meters of carved stone that told the story of his victories for all eternity. He turned Rome into a monument to conquest, a city of triumph carved in marble. But Trajan wasn't done. Even after Dacia, his ambition only grew. Eloque de east, toward the ancient power of Parthia. No Roman emperor had ever conquered it. Many had tried. Many had failed. Trajan marched. Anyway, his armies crossed deserts, stormed cities, shattered resistance. One by one, ancient strongholds fell. Babylon, Seleucia, Ctesiphon, the Parthian capital. For the first time in history, a Roman emperor stood victorious at the edge of the Persian Gulf. The empire was now the largest it had ever been. From the Atlantic Ocean to Mesopotamia, Trajan had achieved what Rome once believed impossible. But time, even for great emperors, always wins. As rebellions flared and the brutal heat of the East took its toll, Trajan fell ill. He began the journey home, but never made it back to Rome. He died in 117 CE, yet his legacy was sealed. Rome's greatest general, Rome's greatest conqueror, the emperor who reached the empire's maximum height in power, wealth, and territory. Before his death, Trajan chose an heir, one whose wisdom he trusted completely. Hadrian, and that decision would reshape the empire once again. For where Trajan expanded, Hadrian would defend.